clarity is the new currency. So you have to have clarity around your numbers, around your finances, around anything that you have. So we have accountants, we have bookkeepers, we go to them, and each year our accountant looks at the numbers and looks at their profit and loss and says, oh, wow, Katie, you made a $50,000 profit, and guess what? You've got to pay taxes. And then you look at them, you look at the accountant all confused and say, what are you talking about? Because I have no money in the bank. And you say, I made a profit. That's the first shock. We all have habits. And sometimes we need to break the habits. And Profit First, it's got nothing to do with numbers. It's got everything to do with habits. So what you're actually seeing is a document that's going to tell you exactly what you're doing, because we are creatures of habit.
Welcome, Najma, to the Profit First Australia and New Zealand podcast. You are one of our very special Mastery members and also have been a Profit First guide here at Profit First Australia and New Zealand for quite some time and have now taken the step back into your business full time to work on and focus on that. And I would love for you to share a little bit about your business and how Profit First came to be for you.
Thank you for inviting me to the podcast, firstly.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to be here just to share my experiences as both a Profit First professional and as a guide. So firstly, how I was introduced to Profit First. So in 2014, I wanted to start a business. And of course, with an accounting background, I thought it would be good for me to actually start a bookkeeping business. But I just did not want to do it the same way my parents did it. So looking back, growing up with my parents who had business in South Africa, watching them, there were two things. And it was time and money. Time, because they always seemed to spend a lot of time in their businesses. And the only international holiday we had with our parents together was just one. Every other time it was either with my mum or with my dad or other family members, but never together as a family. So it was every year holiday, but with different people, never with my parents, together as a family. The other thing was, it revolved around money, right? So feast and famine, everything comes in cycles. And I watched my parents in their business go through this, and there was no way in hell was I going to do this in my own business. And so I decided I've got to do something differently. And I came across Mike had just written the book Profit First in 2014. And of course, I was searching frantically online to see how can I start a business where I can have my life revolve around my business, not the other way around. And so where my business actually revolved around my life and not the other way around. So I came across Mike's book and I read it and I said, this is something I've got to implement. That's when Profit First was introduced in my business. And it was a system that I introduced in my own business. And then as I started working with it and I realized, oh my goodness, this really works, I'm going to introduce it to my clients as well. And yes, and that's when it all started.
And so you have implemented Profit First from day one of your business 10 years ago.
Absolutely. Yes, this is my 11th year in business. And yes, so if you're a startup, start correctly. Implement Profit First from day one. And I've done it. And unlike other businesses who have come across Profit First accidentally or just have been introduced to it by somebody else, their coaches or their accountants or bookkeepers, when you think about it, they've actually got to go back and say, okay, I've got to read it now, I've got to create and do an assessment and, start from where I am right now and then move and have a rollout plan and all of those things. I started it from day one. And I was introduced to the target allocation percentages, which we call TAPs, from day one. So I started with the TAPs and I'm moving ahead each year, progressing. Hopefully everything will be 100%.
And you also, with your clients, all of your clients will work with you and do Profit First as well?
Oh, yes. It's the law. For me, it's anybody that comes in to my world and wants me to do any bookkeeping or anything, they've got to implement Profit First, because without implementing Profit First in your business, I don't think you can really be successful.
And it's just such a good reminder because many people, and we hear this all the time, I'll do it when I'm bigger, when I've got more team, or when I, get through my first year or 2 or 5 years. But you're the perfect example. It can work from day one. And the changes and the impact you have had with your clients have been incredible. Would you like to share some of those amazing stories with us, some of those wins?
Share some of the stories with you. But, as you said, when we say, okay, we're going to do it in maybe in a year, or in 2 years' time, or when I'm ready, it's always when I'm ready, I'll implement something. They say, when is the best time to plant a seed? A tree today. Most times we say we should have done it 2 years ago, but you know what? Just do it anyway. Also, we talk about, we have to wait for everything to be 100% perfect before we can start implementing things. But you know what? You don't have to have anything perfect. Just implement. Start from day one and let's see where it takes us. And with me, with my business, yes, I wanted to do something in my business originally when I first started. Is the only reason why I wanted to actually start a business was to actually give back to society, to the community. And because I'm a great believer that profit is not greed, profit is generosity. So when I implemented Profit First in my business, I'd already set up in my business that I was going to be giving back. So by incorporating that, I'm able to actually give back in my community and I get all my clients to do the same. So you asked me about sharing some of my wins that my clients have had. So I'm going to firstly talk about my first client that actually came through to me was actually a couple. They were past the retiring age. They were running a cafe in Subiaco in Perth, and they had an ATO debt.
Very common.
Yes, a common thing that everybody, we've got a debt and we just don't know how to retire and we don't know what to do. And I came to me just for bookkeeping. And I said, hey, I do things differently. I don't just do bookkeeping. I do Profit First bookkeeping. And I introduced them to the system and we set it up and we set up in fact, when they had an accountant and the accountant didn't even have them set up a GST account. Number one mistake. So the first thing we got them to do was set up a GST account. So moving forward, like I said, start today, plant your seed today. I got them to open up the GST account and everything, any income that came in, we were putting the GST aside. So moving forward for the next batch that we're going to launch, they were going to have the GST ready to be paid. The other thing we got them to do was to create an account called the ATO debt account. So we started implementing, putting money aside to pay off the debt. And within a year and a half working with me, they'd paid off their debt, the ATO debt. They were up to date with the ATO. Any BAS that I said, time to lodge BAS, this is what we owe in PAYG, this is what we owe in GST. And they were always ready to pay it off. They were ready. And then in that 2 years working with me, they were able to not just close the doors of their business, they were able to sell it off.
Just a phenomenal story. And again, as I know, that's not the only one that you have. And I think for those listening who may be in a situation where they have an ATO debt or other debts and it feels very overwhelming, what would be your suggestion for them to make that first step? Because we know Profit First is obviously numbers based, but it's not about the numbers by themselves. What sort of advice?
Okay. When you come to me, the first thing I say to you is clarity is the new currency. So you have to have clarity around your numbers, around your finances, around anything that you have. So we have accountants, we have bookkeepers, we have, we go to them and each year our accountant looks at the numbers and looks at our profit and loss and says, oh, wow, Katie, you made a $50,000 profit and guess what? You've got to pay taxes. And then you look at the accountant all confused and say, what are you talking about? Because I have no money in the bank. And you say, I made profit. That's the first shock. So if you are in that space where, hey, I have debt, I have the ATO debt, I've got an overdraft in my bank account, and I'm sitting in the dark. I have sleepless nights, effectively. So I just don't know where to start. first port of call is approach a Profit First professional. Book a call with them, have a chat with them. They'd probably do an instant assessment with you initially just to see where your numbers are, where you're at, because that's where you get clarity. You can, when you approach a Profit First professional, you're going to sit down with them, they're going to sit down with you, and they're going to have a look at your numbers. Yes, we have the balance sheet, we have the profit and loss, we have the numbers, we have everything. What they would do with is they'd extract the correct numbers, put it in our tool, put the numbers through the tool, and then they will make you understand where your money is going. Because we all have habits. And sometimes we need to break the habits. And, there's a mantra we use in Profit First. Profit First has got nothing to do with numbers. It's got everything to do with habits. So what you're actually seeing is a document that's going to tell you exactly what you're doing, because we are creatures of habit.
Yeah. And I think an important point to note there as well is often people are stressed around their numbers and they're not comfortable in reaching out because they think they're going to be told that they can't spend money or they have to be really frugal and careful with their money, which in some cases that has to be the case to get you through the situation. But in many cases, as you say, it's that clarity and knowing where you're spending the money and how much and at certain times to then be able to help you make better decisions without feeling like you have to do without. It's not about just, telling them not to spend money on certain things. It's about understanding the client and what they really want out of their business and what's important to them, and to be able to help them build that business using Profit First as one of those tools for them. And I mean, your business is a perfect example of that you could have started using Profit First further down the line, but you started at the beginning and you had very specific goals around what you wanted out of the business. You wanted to give back, which you have done consistently for the entire 10 years you've been in business. And I think it's one of the myths, I guess, maybe of Profit First is that we're going to get you to do without. We're going to tell you to stop spending money, when in fact, we're going to guide you on potentially where that money could be better spent at the moment for what you want to achieve out of the business. And that's something that we have seen over the years you do amazing with your clients, is help them understand what they actually want, because so many people go into business with ideas and then they get overwhelmed and they can't see what they actually want. And you've had many clients where you've helped take them from startups or smaller businesses and through to some quite significant growth and goals being kicked.
Yes. Yeah. And I 100% agree with you when you say we actually guiding them. So what we're doing is, and we're not telling them, or we will guide them, we suggest to them, we will help them, but we will actually also understand their habits, right? Number one, we'll make them understand. And how we do that is we do an expense analysis. We sit down with them and say, hey, this is where you're spending your money. Is this what you really want to do? And then we need to also understand what their goals are. Once we understand what their goals are, what they want to achieve, we are able to make them achieve those goals. So what we're doing is we're becoming intentional. So we make them open up accounts that are intentional. Like I said, habits. We all base a lot of our, all our decisions usually are made from one bank account. So when we start a business, we're told to open up a bank account. So we open up this income account, and that everything, all the money that we get comes into that account. We put it in there. Then we make a decision. Now, for me, I use the example of Louis Vuitton bags. Because I have a weakness for handbags. And if I had started my business and had all my money put into one bucket, one account, and if I saw that, hey, I have $20,000 sitting in that account, I'm just going to go and buy that handbag anyway, right? So because I have $20,000, I forget about everything else, because we get emotional when we see something, we want it. So with business owners, usually the next shiny object that comes on, hey, I need to get that software. Great, I have $20,000 in my account. Boom, I'm getting it. Or I need to buy a new car, so I'm just going to go and buy it. But when we become intentional, we get you to open up the intentional accounts. So when we pull out our phone and we look at the accounts, we understand, oh my goodness, I only have $10 in my bank account for software. Can I be buying that software? No, I won't. I'll actually hold back. So we are trying to help you create these guardrails in your accounts. So we're not stopping you from doing certain things. If you want to buy a Tesla, by all means, go ahead and buy it. But we will guide you and we will show you and help you to get the money, to pull the funds before you can make that decision and say, okay, I'm ready to buy that car. To bring on a new employee, we get you to open up a new employee account. We make you understand that you need to make sure that your business can support that new employee. So that's what we're doing. We're hand-holding you, we're guiding you, and we're showing you how to implement it in your business.
And as you say, it's much more about the where are they now and where would they like to go and be and have, and how can we help them achieve that rather than just looking at the numbers today or what has already happened. It's about if you want the fancy car or the handbags or whatever it may be, what do we need to do within the business to be able to afford that so that we can still have, an enjoyable life? Because as self-employed people, we know sometimes it can be a little bit tough. And one of the things we want to do is make sure that we can help them have the things that they really want, and often a whole lot sooner than they thought they could have it once they've got the system set up correctly for them in that instance. And so I wanted to ask you, what would be your one tip, suggestion, hint for those business owners out there who are potentially listening and thinking, oh, that'd be great for me one day, or that won't work for me because of whatever reason they have in their head? What would be the one kind of tip or suggestion that you would share with them?
What I'm going to say is what I'm finding recently is most business owners, most of us, we start a business, right? Because we think, okay, I'm just going to leave the job that I'm going to be doing and I'm going to start up my business. Great. You're going to start your business. What we need to understand is what is the income I need personally in my business for myself, not in my business, for myself to take away from the business. And most business owners that come to me just don't have that figure. I used to say, open up a profit account and put 1% aside. But the first number one question is you need to understand how much you need to take away from your business personally before you can even put 1% aside from your business to, in that account. So that's also a tip. I'm not saying don't do that, but that would be the first thing. The first thing I would say to you, to anybody listening in, and if they are already in their business, do you know your personal income number that you need? So you've got to reverse engineer and understand, okay, this is how much I want to take. So if I want to take $100,000 a year for myself personally, how much does my business need to make to support me? If we can understand that number, everything else falls into place. Because what we find is we start a business, get in, oh my goodness, first lot of money is coming in. I pay everybody. And then when you look in the bank account, oh my goodness, I don't have money for myself. So then what happens is we become despondent. We don't like what we're seeing in our business. We start rejecting everything. And because our business is not rewarding us. And then we despise our business, and then most businesses close down. They're not successful. But if we can understand, hey, I need this X number of dollars to take for myself. I know, okay, I'm going to be taking that money. I know how much of money my business needs to make to support me first. So I'm going to pay myself first. I'm going to be happy. And any profit left over, that's a reward your business is giving you. So the profit that you're taking is, hey, you've done a great job in your business. Here's a reward. So you're taking it. So you're just not paying yourself first. You're getting a reward from your profit. And like with me in my business, for me, what I find most rewarding is giving back. So I didn't really share what I do. So when I started my business, the idea for me starting a business was to give back. So I come from Africa, right? I come from South Africa. So in South Africa, girls, well, all of Africa, most of Africa, and some other developing countries, girls are the ones that actually walk to and from a river to fetch water because they don't have the luxury of having water out of a tap. So I help build wells closer to the villages so that girls can actually get educated. So they don't have to walk to the river and back. They get educated by going to school and they have the wells ready. So that's what I do. So in my entire system, I have a giving back, an account called Charity Wells, right? And I collect each quarter, I build a well or more, one or more. And so far I built 100 plus wells, and each well supports 100 people. So I do that for 365 days a year. So just every morning when I have to get out of bed, I know what I'm doing. And so when we have our why, we understand why we're getting out of bed every morning, why we're running our business. So I'm not just paying myself, I'm helping communities, and I make profit in my business, which actually rewards me. So those are the things that, so if you really want to start, number one, get your number, know exactly what you need to pay. And if you haven't really started Profit First, implement Profit First, open an account called Profit Account and put 1% aside of any income that comes in starting from today.
So thank you, Najma. Such good advice. And our final question, for those who are listening and may want to reach out to work with yourself, can you just give us a little bit of a rundown of the type of client that you love to work with and how they would get in touch with you?
Okay. So known as Rocket to Profit on Instagram, it's search me up there. I don't really have a niche. So I've worked with all different types of industry. So it can be anything from service-based to trades or anything, but I tend to attract more service-based industry than the trades. Some reasons I won't mention here. I know you love the trades. I don't. I actually enjoy working with service-based industry. I work with anything that's service-based. So it doesn't have to be specifically a specific niche. Yeah. And you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. My name, Najma Khan. Search up and you'll find me. Or my business name is Literal Bookkeeping.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Najma.
Thanks for having me, Katie.
My pleasure.